Good morning and welcome to the Brothers in Influence podcast, where we stand to encourage, inspire, and add value in the areas of life, leadership, and community. My name is Ian Williams, your purpose coach. I stand shoulder to shoulder with two other brothers. You'll get to hear them here in a second. Let me go ahead and kick off with the intro. Let's go. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Once again, my name is Ian Williams. Find me across all social media platforms at Ian Coaches, because that's what I do. Again, I happen to be shoulder to shoulder with two mighty men of valor. They could have rocked with David and them. You know what I'm saying? You know the reference. You know the reference. You know the reference. You know the reference. Mighty men of valor, proven, tested. Huh?
Man, my shoulders just got a little bit more heavier. Lord have mercy.
Called and qualified in the cadence of Agilum. In the spirit.
I am Shawtae Price. I am your thought coach. You can find me on all social media networks at Shawtae the Bar Price. My government name. Glad to be here once again. And if you are tuning in, we just want to encourage you to continue to be your best, do your best, and follow your vision and dreams.
Come on, bro. Yes, sir.
That's what's up, fellas. Love coming on here with you guys. Always a joy and a pleasure. Hey, this is your boy Sherrod Ledet, your leadership locksmith, the professor, the growth coach of Greater Lexington. Listen, I basically help you get from your now to your next, looking at your now situation to your next opportunity, helping grow leaders for today, for tomorrow's business. Listen, we all have opportunities, but an opportunity is great only when we take action, right? Mm-hmm. So when we take action on those opportunities is only when we can manifest those opportunities into our dreams, right? So our now to our next. Let's get it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Ops.
Yes, sir. Oh man, so it's what, July 30th, 2022, and the years climb by. How we doing, fellas?
He said flying by, dude. It flew. Like I'm glad you reminded me it was 22 and not 23, to be honest.
I was thinking the same thing.
No doubt.
Yeah.
I would have to say, personally, for me, man, it's turned out a lot better than it should have.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is, I'm a coach. You know, I got people that encourage me, and I gotta encourage myself and in my vision, in my dreams, right? And but just life, right? Because we talk about life, leadership, and community, and life oftentimes can get the best of us, right? And so that's what I mean when I say that. It's been a fight, and that's how it is sometimes. Just being transparent, but man, it's been a great year overall. It can never be too bad when I have a beautiful young girl that I love, and I know she loves me without reservation. And that by itself, right, is oftentimes the rope that's let down in the pit I've ended up in or placed myself in. Just that alone, being able to grab that rope of love, because I know I want to be here for her. I want the best for her. I don't want her to have to struggle in any type of way. But overall, it's been a great year, and it's not over. I think that's the best part of it. It's still not over. I still have the opportunity and chance to do a lot more great things before the year is over. And if it was November, I would still be saying the same thing, right? Because the opportunity is always there. So that's what we got to look at. We have to look back to help us understand where we're going. Get pulled over by the police. and I'm going south, and I tell them I'm going somewhere north, they'll look at me like I'm crazy. Well, you're going the wrong way, sir. But we have to be able to look back and take stock of where we come from, and then see the opportunity that's before us, so that we can still reach those goals and dreams that we had.
Come on, bro. Yes, sir. That's, I love it. I love it, man. I'm gonna just go ahead and let Sherrod go. Go ahead, Sherrod.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, bro, like he summed it up for everybody, right? Like, but real talk, right? Like, so yeah, I mean, he went exactly where I was gonna go, man. Like, there's still time, right? The lessons learned are invaluable up to this point, right? We're only 7 months into the year. Last time my math worked for me, there's 12 months, so I still got time, right? So for this up to this point now, there's been a lot of things that I expected, and there's a lot of things that I didn't expect. But I'm still here, and the opportunity is still before me. So I'm actually in anticipation, right, for the remaining part of this year and what can come from that, not just for myself, but also those that are connected to me, man. One of the things that I think has happened for me in this year, in 2022, has really been the opportunity for growth, and really just to step outside of where I'm at now, to again step into that next opportunity, right? So I'm really embracing the moment. I don't know what all is going to happen, but I do know that I have control over what I have control over. And the thing that I have control over is me, right? So every opportunity, every decision that I make, everything that I do is based on what it is I see I want to have. And then I make every decision, every opportunity help me get to that vision. So, bro, it's really walking in faith, man. I'm really walking in faith. I've had a lot of great opportunities this year. I'm so grateful, to be honest. I mean, like last week we talked about just, the book release and things of that nature, which is again just, the power of gratitude. And I'm finding that is really, really the place in which you just have to start. That is the platform. That is where you need to jump, right? So when you jump from the place of gratitude, everything else around you just starts to kind of change the way you see it, the way you think about it. And for me, I'm grateful for what I've experienced this year, and I'm in anticipation for what's going to happen the rest of the year. I'm just going to keep moving forward, keep executing, and keep growing and building in the process.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I mean, speaking of anticipation, I mean, I'm days away from having my second child. So I don't know if I can feel any more anticipatory than that. Leia is coming, man. It's crazy. It's like totally different this time. So I remember last time, when my firstborn, he's 6 years old. Our first child, like we didn't know Binky from a diaper. At least I did. I was reading books and, what I'm saying, trying to figure out how to support my wife and, how can I pitch in to help. And, now that I've got 6 years of experience under my belt, and I'm in not only that, but I'm also in a totally different place as a professional, as a person. I mean, six years ago when he was born, I was still working in corporate. I still had that, loyalty to the company first type of mentality. And so I actually, in fact, we actually conceived prior to that, probably a year and a half before. And we lost our first child to a miscarriage, in fact. And so it was a journey, man. It was a journey. We had to grieve that, and that was really, really, of course, hard on my wife. And I don't even really think I realized how affected I was, because I was trying to be there for her.
Yeah.
And so in a lot of ways, really, I was out of touch with where I was losing my first child. And in fact, just to show you where my head was at, working in that corporate space, I remember when it happened, And like it happened over the course of a weekend, and we're dealing with it. And my wife got her time off. I went into work, bro, and I was in the middle of training in class, and I mentioned it to my then supervisor, who I didn't even have a great relationship with. Like, I didn't even think he was that great of a leader. Um, but I mentioned it to him. He's like, dude, what are you doing? He's like, shut down the classroom, go home, be with your wife. You know, we're gonna give you bereavement. I didn't even know that was a thing for miscarriage, but
Yeah.
apparently, thankfully it was, and I got to come home and be with her. We, grieved for days, just being home together. But that's just to show, I was still at work trying to do what I was supposed to do, and I was completely ignorant to the fact that that was even possible, that I could be allowed to go home, let alone ask to step out and be away. And so fast forward to Junior, born beautifully, with no complications or anything like that. But it was still like we were going to work up until the last minute. we were at work.
Mhm.
My wife got up. She said, "I think we're gonna have a baby today. I'm gonna go ahead and go into work, and I'll give you a call if something happens."
Oh wow.
Yeah. But it's like, wow. Now look at us now. We own our own business. We don't have to ask nobody if we need to step away and take care of ourselves, or specifically her. Thankfully, if she could, she'd probably be putting in full-time hours, but being her own boss and having grown the way we've grown, she's slowed down proportionately to based on the need.
Yeah, expected. Right, expected.
So she ain't just trying to go to work no more. She's like, okay, maybe I'll put in a few hours here, and I'm gonna come home and take a nap. I'm like, okay, that's good. But yeah, man, it's wild, and so we're just anticipating. We're excited. And it's anywhere from today to a week and a half from now is the due date. So he can come anytime. I believe he's fully grown and developed, so it won't be no issues. It's just a matter of when he wants to, what God's timing is, and when he wants to debut, make his debut. So
Right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's exciting, bro. Congrats as usual. But so
the shift in mindset though that gets me.
yeah. Yeah. So I'm sitting here thinking, man, you asked the question about just where we're at, right? And we talked about our individual aspects, but let's just think about it from a collective standpoint, bro. Like, hey, brother of influence, right? Like, where we at today versus where we started, right? Like, I don't even remember when we started. Like, it seems like we've always just been rocking together from day one, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, what's today? What episode are we at? Like, I don't even know.
This is 2022.
22 plus the other
season
20.
22.
Yeah, season 2, 22, right? So yeah, this is this is also just another feather in the hat, so to speak, right? Another notch in the belt, another chip off the old block. Like, right, we've done a lot, collectively. So I just didn't want us to breathe past our individual accomplishments and not look at the bigger picture, right? Because there's still more to come. There's still more in us. And again, we only 7 months into the 2022. We still got a whole lot more that's coming. And again, I'm anticipating just the level of growth that's going to happen from that, right? Like, and all our viewers, all our people that are following, stay tuned, right? Like, we got some things coming. We got some shifts, and it's all good things, man. Like, we're just continuing to share the message of life and leadership and community. We just brothers, right? Brothers with influence. That's it. So yeah, man, I just want to give us a shout out real quick. So
Yeah, and you're on point because what the bigger part of it that is that's also what's that's also has been the catalyst of us doing more, just individually. This whole component that we have going on has been able to manifest in us individually, in our individual business, individual lives, uh, and that's why we can talk about those things. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that back around, and because uh, I know everyone's heard the teamwork makes the dream work. It's a real thing, right? And
Mhm.
but if you're not getting something, if you're part of a team and you're not gleaning anything outside of the team,
Hmm.
you might have to switch teams, right? Very
Mm.
important, because some people are part of a team and the team is doing good, but the individuals that are part of the team outside of that, they're not, nothing's happening, right? and
Hmm.
and I believe if you're a part of a team, I don't care how you look at it, if you're part of a team, something should be rubbing off into your life, right? You should be gaining something from that. If you're at
Right.
work and you're part of a team that has a project to do, as an individual outside of that team, because you're a part of that team at work, right? But you do have individual responsibilities at work oftentimes, right? So you should be gleaning something that you can apply outside of that team. And too often people get stuck. What's the other big thing? If you're the smartest person in the group, you need to find another group, right? That type of
Hmm.
thing. So yeah, just so if you're a part of a team, great, the team is doing good, but you have to also evaluate, what am I getting from this team? Is this team really, am I getting something that I can use out of this team, or am I just giving?
Hmm.
When I took one of my first when I was in prison, took a college course. It was a salesmanship course, and we had a team, we had a project to do. And I think it was like three of us on the team, three or four of us, and like two of us did all the work, right? That ain't, those guys didn't get nothing outside of that. I learned a lot from that experience, right? One is watch who you partner with,
Hmm.
right? Because some
Yeah.
people they don't want to, they don't want to participate. They want the benefits of the grade, but they don't want to participate, right? And we had to do like a presentation and everything. So like last minute, the two of us, we good, we on the presentation, we trying to fit them in because they really don't know nothing, because they ain't participated in the development of this presentation. So, but yeah, just want to encourage people. If you're part of a team, great. If the team's doing good, you should be getting some type of benefit out of the team. You should be learning something, gleaning something from that team.
Hmm.
Yes, sir. It's good. I think we're kind of reminiscing.
Hmm.
People don't realize like what we've talked about it a little bit, but we're going to be switching the game up here and for season 3 of Brothers in Influence. Of course, the brothers will still be here, but we're going to invite some other voices in to kind of speak to their expertise and add value to the community. So I think that's kind of why we're in this mindset where we're thinking back and reflecting on, how we got started, and what has the work that has been done in us since then. And yeah, I think we've all grown. We've got to kind of support each other through some ups and downs, and it's been a beautiful thing, man. It's been brotherhood. You know, uh, I think we all got siblings. Uh,
Yeah.
and so it's interesting, like when you think about how we come together as brothers, and you know, having an actual family dynamic. Like none of us are single, individual children in a home growing up. But I believe that we've got the sort of brotherhood that the Bible talks about. Sometimes the scripture says that a brother can be closer, or a friend can be closer than a brother. And it's
Yeah.
not to say like, you know, we're trying to, swap people out and pick and
Hmm.
choose and all that stuff. It's more about, you know, um, who can we depend on to be there when we actually in need, and especially when we don't even know it. I think that the consistency that we've had over the last couple of years of connecting and building has almost allowed that to happen naturally. Now, I can count on probably two hands the amount of times where one of us was in need. We didn't know we were in need, but because we got on and we had a conversation, it was like, man, I needed that, bro. And that could be because another brother just noticed, like, hey, bro, what's going on? Like, nothing's going on. I'm good. We dig deeper. It's like, oh man, yeah, something's going on. But I don't think, as adults, let alone men, there are very few relationships that facilitate those sort of conversations.
Yeah.
And that's good, man, because you're right. Like, I mean, just even for men, like, we have our boys, we can talk to them, we'll share. But even then, we only share what we feel is we're going to share to kind of keep our image, right? Like, to kind of keep that, like, I'm a man, bro. Like, I don't need to, I ain't soft. Like, yeah, I got, but yet with us, that we'd be like, okay, yeah, okay, that was good. But for real, like, what's up? Right? Like that, there's that deep conversation. Like, okay, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but what I'm feeling is not the same, right? Like, so there's that next level of communication, that nonverbal, that element of just being connected through spirit, right? Like, I definitely understand that to be our testimony as brothers, right? So, but I have to circle back, man. Like you said something, and I'm surprised you didn't catch it, brother. Like, so it's interesting.
That's what you're here
right?
for, bro.
Like,
that's what you're here
for. It's interesting, man, because you're right. We're about to shift again, right? So this next season that we're about to roll into, so we talk about life, we talk about leadership, and we talk about community. And this next shift that we're about to go into is now involving the community. So literally now, again, just in what we are walking out, what we are living, what we said that we're going to do, we're also including that in what we do with this podcast. Now we're inviting the community in to also be a part of this life leadership and community journey that we've been talking about, right? So now we're going to be able to hear from our community about what is happening in these three different aspects, right? We talked about life a lot, and I'm pretty sure if we go back and listen to the first season, we talked about life a lot, right? I know we talked about a lot of leadership in this second season, right? So now this third season that we're about to go in, now we're going to be touching and presenting more of the community aspect, meaning that we're going to be bringing in the community and having them join in on the conversation. Right. So it was just when you said that, I was like, ooh, dog. Look at God, right? That's this guy doing what he does, right? Doing what he does best, man. And again, that's I don't even think that was the idea or the plan. It just organically kind of fell into place like that, right? But I love it, and I think that's just where we're at with this part of the process. So.
Yeah, man, I think it brings up a good point about vision, man. Make sure you give your vision room to evolve. Make sure you give it room to breathe, bro, because that's real. And think about it is, you talk about how natural it is, and it's all in alignment. Everything that we're looking to do going forward, as we grow and add additional things, is all aligned with the original mission. We're not going off the rails and trying to switch it up all of a sudden. It's a natural flow to it, and so just like the word says, write your vision and make it plain, but like, don't let that be the end of it. Make it plain. The making it plain part is a lifetime.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So what can brothers and influence look like in another 5 to 10 years? Like, I'm not putting a limit on it, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, write the vision and make it plain. It's like a business plan, right? The business plan isn't there for you to follow these staunch steps, A, B, C, D, F, G, because when you're in business, things change, things develop. You see better ideas. You know what? I wanted to do this, but now that I'm in this business environment, I know this isn't going to work right now. So I gotta. But that plan gives you a idea of your vision and where you want to go with it. And so when you said that, write the vision, make it plain, I think that's important, because that's your stepping stones. That's one of your stepping stones to success. Writing it down, knowing what you want to do, letting somebody like one of your friends or family members who's in business maybe already ask you those hard questions about the business so that you can make that plan solid, right? So you're not just lollygagging along. And for us, man, when you start saying that, I was like, man, you're right. I'm like, man, you're right. Yeah, that's first season. We most definitely, it was life, right? Because it was all new for us. We doing this thing, and then yeah, of course we talk about leadership and community, but that's then this sex season. Yeah, we really jumped to a lot of leadership. I'm just thinking about episodes when you're talking about it. I'm like, man, this just it's all, and like Ian said, it's what we said we were going to do, but it doesn't look like what we thought it was. But we're rolling with the process, right? We're laying, we know what we want to do, and we have to stay faithful and keep riding towards that vision, and that's the only way we're going to be successful.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought in like the business plan, right? Like, and you're absolutely right. Like it's a roadmap, right? Especially with the vision, business plan, it's a roadmap, right? It's every aspect of it. So, and then it's also accountability, right? With the business plan, it's not that it's not to keep you sort of saying, okay, well, you didn't accomplish this. This is allowing you to remember, like, hey, you said you was going to do this. What happened, right? Like, where are you going? How are you going to get there? What's the next step? And it help you if you're all the way left field when you're supposed to be, midfield, get your butt back in midfield, right? That's what the business plan allows you to do, right? And that's what the vision allows you to do as well. But like Ian said, bro, it's one of those things that it evolves as you evolve. Like the growth that's happened between the three of us, man, is right. I don't know if we really are digesting. I know for a fact later on this week, like, or going on, like, how we have regular conversations, we're going to think about just this episode and what we just uncovered today. Now it's going to go into so much more later on when we just think about it, because like where we started at when we got on this thing is nowhere near where we are now. And I think a lot of the growth and things, I don't know, we knew that was going to happen, but I don't know what we were expecting, right? Or anticipating from that perspective. Like, it's just, it's night and day. And I wouldn't give it up for anything, man. Like, just the challenges, the pressure, the push, right? The pull, right? The the good times, the hard conversations, right? Like, hey, there's been a couple of times where y'all had to check me, right? There's a couple of times where y'all had to get checked. Like, let's just keep it all the way 100, right? Like, so it's all that, right? It's all that. And we shift, and I think it's just going to be another level, right? What was once our ceiling is now about to be our floor, right? Take it to that next level. It's funny. I was thinking this morning, when we talk about just different levels, elevation, growth, there's, if you just think about a building, right? There's one or two ways to get to another floor. One, you're either going to take the steps, right? Or two, you can take the elevator, right? So you can take the steps or you can take the elevator. Now, both of them require you to do something, but one is going to take more out of you than the other will. If I take the steps, right? Now, depending on how I take the steps, I can take it one step at a time, or, like me, I can jump a couple of steps. So regardless, I got to take steps, right? I got to exert some more energy to get to that next level, right? I got to open the door. I got to walk through, like I got to do, there's a lot more steps. But if I take the elevator, I just push the button, I wait. I get on the elevator, I push another button, I wait. It gets to the floor that I asked it to take me to. The door's open, and then I walk off onto that floor. Right? Now, there's a whole lot in that. But my point is this. As we continue to walk, right, and as we just even continue just to look at this year, right, where we're at, this is July, right? The 7th month. We still got some time. now it's the decision that we have to identify, like, so what are we going to do to get to that next level in this year? Which way are we going to go? Are we going to take the steps, which is going to require a little bit more work, a little bit more effort? Or are we going to get on the elevator, right? Which will you just push the button, go to that next floor, get off, and boom, there you are, right? Now, I'm not saying one's better than the other. I'm just saying there is a difference between the two. And as we're at this point in our lives, or this point in the year, right? This point in Brothers of Influence, man, I think a lot of times we've taken the steps, right? We took the stairs because we had to walk some things out. We had to see the opportunities. We didn't know where we was going, and it just made sense for us to take the steps because we had to grow in some areas. We had to find our way, right? Now we could have took the elevator and just, and I don't know what that would have looked like, but I know for us in this journey, and even from a personal standpoint, the stairs was my mode or my focus when getting to that next level. So I didn't mean to go that deep but my bad. That's just what I felt at the time, player. My fault.
What are you taking, the elevator or the stairs? But no, I feel you on that, and it's, I think a big part of it too is some people need to take the stairs before they take the elevator, and the reason being that the elevator can be a shortcut for some people that isn't letting them develop properly, right? So it's just like somebody saying, and I think I've said this before. When I started my job, there's a right way to do stuff, and then there's a way around it to do stuff. And I used to always tell people, teach me how to do it the right way. I can figure out how to do it the shortcut way. But if someone comes and asks me how to do it the right way and I go the shortcut route, that means I don't know how to do it. Right? Just like when I was in school, I could figure out math problems, but I couldn't do the work. Well, it doesn't work. The teacher like, no, you got to show me your work. I don't care if the answer is right. You have to show me the work, right? And so I had to learn how to do the work, even though I could figure out the problem. But at the end of the day, what good does it do me? Because there's going to come a point where I'm going to need to know the work to figure out the problem eventually, right? So yeah, I think that was a great analogy of, just the process of learning and being on a journey, right? Sometimes you have to take the steps. Sometimes you can take the elevator, and sometimes when you've took the elevator, sometimes you got to step back and just walk up the steps again, and because it allows you to get perspective of where you are, and where you can go. So, but I'm cool with, if we can go ahead and take the elevator now.
He's like, I'm tired taking these steps. yeah, man. And I was just thinking of a stairwell too, bro. Because the reality of it is, it goes up to each floor, right? Like we could go on this on all day, right? But I think just my point is that regardless, just as you just think, and I think it's this important. So if anybody just kind of tuning in, jumping in with us right now, we kind of took, like my man Ian saying, we kind of reminiscing a little bit, but we're just taking kind of a time just to reflect and kind of see where we are. And we're just talking about our journey at this particular point. And I think journey it's really up to the individual, right? And even if you have a team, it's then up to the team. So there's a collective aspect of it. So we just use this analogy of the stairs versus the elevator, right? Like they both do the same thing. You're just going to get something different, just depending on the mode of or the device that you use to get to that next level, right? You can take the steps, takes a little bit more effort and work, or you can take the elevator, man. Like in either way it's not right or wrong. It's just what you're looking to get out of it from the journey, from the opportunity, right? So
yeah, I think a lot of times our audience it struggles with the how. Like, they have an idea what they want to do, but they're not even sure what the next step is. So, what
Hmm.
step takes them to the stairs, or what step takes them, or puts them in the position to jump on the elevator? So, what would you say to those?
Now, y'all want me to take over the rest of the show? Or y'all?
Yeah, you get 5 minutes, brother. Go.
Yeah, he said I got 5 minutes. I'm gonna cap you.
Now you got 4 minutes and 40 seconds.
Listen to him. Yeah. So those individuals that are looking for that next, like, what is the next step, right? Like, how do I get from my now situation to that next opportunity? Yeah. So immediately I go there, because what I found as I look for and have moved in that same kind of thought process, I had to identify where I was at so I can identify where I was going, and then I had to see what was the gaps, like what was I missing, what did I need, right? What was I needing more information, knowledge, or information? Did I need exposure, right? Did I need to identify who I was? Did I need to know more about myself so I can then identify where my next opportunity went based on what I thought, right? So, that's the growth process aspect of getting to that next opportunity. Or I could be building, right? And if I'm building, then it's like, okay, so what if I'm building something, do I believe in it? Do I believe in what it is I say I want to do, that I want to accomplish, right? And if I do believe in it, do I have the resilience to go towards that thing? Can I move towards it, right? And that also comes with the knowledge, right? The exposure, and identifying who I am and what I'm doing in order to find out where that next step is. So it's all there. There is no right or wrong answer. It's just really identifying, okay, hey, I said I want to do this. This is where I want to go. So again, making sure, like when we started off, what is our vision? Where are we trying to go? And then what is that next step? Do I have the information necessary? If I don't, where do I go get it? Yeah. Right. And if I do have it, okay, great. Now, how do I use it? Now I need to expose myself to other people who have already done it, or do I need to, or get the experience in order to make sure that I'm moving in the right direction based on what it is I see, right? And then that just falls back. Do I have the belief and the resilience, right? And then be intentional about where I'm going. Now I'm kind of walking around some things that I some concepts, but it really is all about making sure that, again, I'm equipped from a growth perspective to know what it is I need mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, in order to achieve what it is I'm looking to go to next, right? Through my building of believing in what it is I see, and then being able to just take the challenge, right? And finding those steps, even in the dark, right? I might not know, but if I'm talking about it, if I know and understand where it is I'm going, then I can start identifying and asking questions. I can find people to help me, right? And I think that's one of the things that we found with this group, with Brothers of Influence. It wasn't the fact that we didn't know where we're on our individual journeys, but because of we're connected and we're together, we are now, we've been able to help each other get to that next step, that next level, that next opportunity, individually, but also collectively.
Yeah.
There he is. I think he beat the timer, man.
The question is, did it make sense? Did it make sense?
Yeah, that's good. No, it's good. When I try to encourage people, I start with the vision, to say that start with the end in mind. And that kind of, when I first heard it, it kind of dumbfounded me. I'm like, how does that work? First I'm asking, how do I get to what I want? And then you say, start with the end in mind. Well, how do I do that if I don't know how to get there? It's actually a lot, it's simple, right? You say, don't put the cart before the horse. Putting the cart before the horse would be trying to chart a path to somewhere you don't know what the destination is when you don't know the destination. Trying to chart a path when you don't know the destination is backwards, even though it feels like you should be focused on charting the path first. You know what I'm saying? That's interesting. We can put all the effort into trying to chart a path, but if you don't know the destination, you're wasting your energy, you're wasting your effort. So you have to figure out the destination first, and get as clear as possible. If you're looking at a GPS, you don't want a zoomed out version. You don't want to just say, I'm going to show up in such and such country on such and such continent. Now, brother, you got to zoom in further. You got to go from the continent to the country to the state. If we're talking about the U.S., for example, you gotta figure out the city, maybe even the if not the city, the county. You got to figure out the zip code and the street. You know, you got to get as clear as possible. And I'm saying it like that just to say, like, you want as much detail in your vision as you could possibly muster.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's why it's important that you also give it room to evolve, give it room to breathe, because once you put as much detail in the forefront as humanly possible, as much as you're capable of, as you go, you're going to always reference back and add even more detail.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be aware of more as you navigate the journey. But once you have that initial clarity of your destination, then you can start plotting steps towards that destination.
Yeah.
Until you have that destination, you're not going to be able to plot it. You're not going to be able to plot steps. But it's kind of, it's and when you think of it that way, it's almost so elementary. Like, what's the quickest point between two points? Straight line.
Straight line.
When you have your starting point, which is where you are, you're now, like my brother says. You have your destination, which is your next. Then that straight line starts to become obvious. You may not have a straight line in its entirety, but you say, hey, I want to get from point A to point B. This may require one of the gaps you can start to identify. Maybe it's education, maybe it's experience. Okay. So I was just talking to my neighbor. He was like, I want to do such and such and such. So instead of spending another 5 or 6 years in school, what I discovered is all I need to do is get this certification.
Yeah.
And that's one small step he can take. He can start that next week, as opposed to committing and trying to convince his wife and thinking about how he's going to go back to school for 4 to 5, 6 years with a newborn and all of this. He can go ahead and get that certificate. And according to the way things are working now in IT, because it's IT related, that's all he's going to really need to get started in his career and make more money than he's ever made.
Yep.
That's just a simple example. And in that industry, what's been proven is once you have that experience, that hands-on experience, and you know that particular skill, you don't need any more education. Not in a traditional sense, anyway.
Yeah. Especially nowadays.
And so that's just an example. But once he got clear on where he wanted to go, he realized that a 4 or 5 year degree was not necessary. So he was able to take one small step that actually put him closer to where he wanted to go than what he initially thought he had to do to get there. But go ahead, Shante.
The Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Habit 2. That's habit 2. Begin with the end in mind. Mm-hmm. And when I think about that habit, I think back to mindfulness, right? Because that's part of that process, being mindful. But one of the key things that always it's one of the books I read when I was in prison, and I loved it. I actually end up doing an outline for it. They let me teach a class on it. And
Stephen Covey?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And one of the key components of the book is a personal mission statement, right? And he actually breaks down. I used to tell people, like, who do you want to be as a man, right? If you say you want to start a business, who do you want to be as a business person, right? If you're a father, especially being in prison, who do you want to be as a father? Write that personal mission statement. I don't care if it's a dozen things you say you want to be. Who do you want to be as a family man, right? Or as a person in your family, right? As a man in your family. So that's like a whole, not just you, your wife, and kids. And I used to always tell the guys, because if you don't have a standard, everybody's going to try to get you to live up to their standard. And what I always say is you can't live up to anybody else's standard because you're an individual, right? Right? I don't care who it is. We love our wives, we love our parents, we love our brothers, sister, whatever. We have love for people, but their expectations we cannot live up to because they're an individual and we're an individual. So I just think that's one of those components that if you have a vision or a dream, you have to have a personal mission statement as an individual within that, because how are you going to accomplish those things, right? Because if I'm clear on who I am and who I'm going to be, if I'm a successful business person, I'm not going to allow my family coming in the back door saying, oh, can I have some money? Can I have, right? A lot of people have failed in business because here come family wanting something. And ain't nothing wrong without helping family. But one thing is, I think it's a lot of rich families. You know, when I say rich families, you think about Rockefellers and things like that, right? They don't just give money, right? When they give money, you have to have a business plan. You have to say how you're going to make this money. And not only that, you pay that money back. So even then, you know, we look at those situations, we say, oh, they got money, so they giving people. Everybody ain't like that. They like, know what? We want to have, they are truly having generational wealth, but they're not just giving stuff out. And so a lot of time we just got to change our thinking. We have to be more mindful about who we are, what we want to do, and how that's going to apply to all the situations in our life, as a family man, as a businessman, as a husband, as a father, right? And so, yeah, begin with the end in mind. I tell people all the time, you can't have your dream house if you ain't going out looking at houses. Right? How you gonna know what your dream house is? I seen the kitchen I want in my dream house in a house that I can jump through from one side to the other. But the kitchen is awesome, but everything else is small, right? So, but you have to be able to see, right? See who you are and what you want to be in the future. And then you have to either take the steps or take the elevator.
There it is. Yes, sir. Yeah. I mean, I love it. So it's based on our experiences. It's amazing how we've come to similar conclusions, considering our different backgrounds, and experiences. We've come to similar conclusions, and that's kind of what I believe has allowed us to connect the way we have. And you look at three brothers on the screen, but there's diversity here, right? Because of those different experiences, because of the environment we were raised in, because of the way our characters, our personalities, and everything was nurtured and influenced by the people we were raised by, etc. And so, but to see that what often kind of bubbles to the surface is we find that we find respite in time-tested principles, right? And so, Shantae was talking about that Stephen Covey. I have never read the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. However, I was given the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens when I was still in high school, and I remember reading through that book. I remember I ate it up. For some reason, it got me. I wasn't a heavy reader at the time, but for some reason, it pulled me in. And I probably couldn't have told you what was in the book, a year or two later, but it just shows like one of those seeds that were planted. And then, I was retaught that principle by my mentor, one of my mentors, when he was actually working with me while I was still in traditional ministry leadership setting. And he was, teaching me how to, prepare my sermons and things. He would teach that principle in that setting, which is a totally different setting than what you learn that principle in. How it still applies in all these different areas of our lives. That just shows, why we're passionate about teaching these things, because they transcend generation, they transcend time. But once it's the awareness of them that makes all the difference. The lack of awareness, you can continually be behind the 8 ball. But once you learn the principle, it's only I won't say an advantage, but it puts you in a position to succeed and really to achieve significance when you're looking to connect and do more, be more. And so, like, as he went on, I was thinking about how I teach leadership, and I said, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. That's what our mentors taught us. It's easy to repeat, and then I always take it to the next level. And then Sherrod teaches a slightly different, but it's the same conclusion. But I always say leadership is influence. Okay, who all has influence? Everybody should raise their hand. Everybody has influence. Think about your influence. Who's in your circle? Blah 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 blah. Okay, now think about what sort of impact do you want to make? I just let that breathe. I let that breathe. Like that's like that moment is always palpable in my trainings or in my teachings or whoever I'm talking to. It's like what sort of influence you want to be. It challenges you to reflect in every area of your life, because it's your life that has influence. It's one life having influence on another, having an impact on another. And that's what leadership is. And so, what sort of leader do you want to be?
So I got a question real quick. So can influence and impact, can it be two different things?
I think they go hand in hand.
Okay.
And I would say yes, they can be. I would say the impact is a result of influence.
Okay. But now, and that's why I asked the question is because when you say impact, you're talking about, of course, you're talking about something that changes an individual, right? Something that, something that you're feeding an individual and it changes them. It makes them better, right?
It continues, or it's what's left behind after you left the room.
Okay. Because when you were saying it, I'm like, man, because I'm thinking about leadership, right? Because that's what we're talking about, and influence. Because oftentimes leaders are influencing people. What my thought is, they're influencing people, but they're not having an impact, right? So I'm thinking about the negative part. So that's why I asked the question. Because a lot of, the personnel say that they're not a good leader because they're having impact on those people that's saying that, but it's not a positive impact.
That's true.
So that's why I asked the question, because when you were saying, the first thing that came to my mind is from influence to impact, but I'm thinking about that process, right?
Yep.
How we influence and impact someone to the extent that they're better than they were.
Yep.
When they're better than they were before they met.
Because you have influence, there will always be an impact. Is your impact positive? Question.
Okay.
So what kind of impact do you want to make? Do you want to leave the room and people be like, man, he said a whole lot, but didn't mean nothing. There's no trust there. There's no connection. There's no, belief. There's no inspiration. There's no loyalty. As opposed to, you said something. Oh, he said just a few words, and I really I'm really ready to it. Why would people do that? Not because you showed up and just said a whole bunch, and you was in charge and you had a title. It's because they believe in you. They trust you. They were inspired. There's loyalty. It's hard to in organizations. It's hard to engage with employees without inspiration and loyalty.
Yeah.
Leaders. What kind of leaders inspire? What kind of leaders inspire loyalty?
Yeah, that's a whole episode. That's a whole season, to be honest, bro.
all worked with one that didn't. So what is it to be one that does?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, impact is that impact is something, because like you're saying, we've all seen it. Whereas we can say the leader, some leaders had the impact that we know for a fact that I'm not going to do that as a leader. So their impact wasn't positive; it was negative, but in a way that it changes our thinking about leadership, right? So that's awesome.
Yeah, a negative impact can have a positive influence on you, right? As you grow and develop into your like you said, you did that. I saw that didn't work. So guess what? I'm not going to do that. Thanks.
So, yeah. It's like there are things that have influenced us that we didn't realize influenced us, and we automatically reenact them just because we're ignorant to the fact. And so, we've spent 2 years literally talking about the importance of self-awareness. That's why.
Yeah.
Because there are things that have influenced us. Again, environment, nurture, experience, and we don't even realize stuff is what I call. We talked about this during Mental Health Month. Backseat drivers. They dictate your life in the backseat. You don't even know.
Yep, you don't even have to see them.
You can have good intentions all day, and you want to make that good impact. You want to be that inspirational leader that helps motivate and helps get the best out of people, for not just for your sake, but for theirs. But if you got them backseat drivers, it don't take much, because usually it's the when it comes to what I call trust equity, it's the negative experience just cost a lot more than the rewards to the positive. Those positive experiences, they make little deposits, 2-3 cents. But then the negative make big withdrawals, quarters, 50 cents, 75 cents. So you got to keep those little deposits going as much as possible. And the beautiful thing about it is, it's not just about work. It's about home life too. You got to keep them little deposits going in there with your family, with your children, life, leadership, and community. Come on now.
Yeah.
So that when the inevitable withdrawal happens because we fall short, why? Because we're human. You still have some equity left over.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When you go in the negative, it's a wrap, son. And that means that you ain't been doing what you needed to do to keep your balance positive.
Yeah. Can't get what you don't have.
Right.
So what we doing? What sort of impact do we want to make, fellas?
Yeah. I'm a change agent.
He's a change
agent. I'm a change agent.
This is Brothers Influence Podcast, where we stand to encourage, inspire, and add value in the area of life, leadership, and community. We hope you got some value out of our time together today. And we brought up some lingering questions that I hope that you guys can chew on as you guys go into the week. But of course, we have the community. The Brothers Influence community is here for you if you want to jump in and share any of your thoughts and any of your reactions to things that we've discussed or we are discussing, or even if you have something that you'd like us to bring up. Next episode 23, will be the last of season 2 before we switch to season 3 in the coming weeks. So we're really looking forward to closing out with a bang. But man, we finished pretty strong today. And any last words from the brothers?
Yeah, man. So I'm just going to kind of pull back to where we was at. And I just want to say that again, it's important, regardless of where we are, what kind of influence, what kind of impact, as we're looking to go from our now to the next. The reality of it is you have to start with the end in mind.
Mm-hmm.
You have to know where you're going. The reality of it is a navigation tool is great, but it only works effectively when you type in where you're trying to get to, because then it can only then plot the path. So you got to know where you're going in order for you to experience that next opportunity.
My influence is on the left and the right of me. I'm finna go have some impact.
All right. This was a great episode. We love y'all. Please tune in next week for episode 23. We out.
Holla.